Hey folks, this is Dana of StimulatedBoredom.com, and I wanted to do an updated version of the basic PC maintenance video that I'd done a little over a year ago, so we'll consider this the 2010 remix of that video. But this is for PC users that want to ensure that they're removing any kind of clutter that's accumulated over time on their PC, that it's running at its optimal level, that it's running as fast and as quickly as it possibly can. Most of us just simply want to turn on our computer and have it work, and a lot of folks don't realize that over time, a lot of things can accumulate because of all the different processes that you do on a computer that eventually can slow down your system considerably. And there are a number of different steps that are very quick and easy that you can take that we're going to get into here in a moment that will remedy those problems. So the first thing we're going to do is something called a disk cleanup. So if you're playing the home game, you want to find My Computer on your desktop. Most folks have it saved on their desktop. If you don't, just go to the Start menu. You'll find My Computer and just double click on that. And for the majority of folks, it's going to be your C drive. If you go to your C drive, you want to right-click on the C drive and scroll all the way down to where it says Properties. Now, when you go down to Properties, this dialog box is going to pop up. It shows you how much used space you have, how much free space you have, but you're also going to see this little button here that says Disk Cleanup. Now, if you click on that, the box that's going to pop up once it runs through its process is basically going to determine how much additional space can be found on your computer that you can free up by cleaning up your C drive. Now, you're going to find downloaded program files, temporary internet files, your recycle bin. You're going to have old files that can be compressed. Now, I don't have a ton of space that can be freed up because I do this relatively often, but there's other folks who I've helped with the disk cleanup who've had 3, 4, 5, 6 gigabytes of space that are just waiting to be freed up because they've been, kind of cached in this process. For example, the temporary internet files folder, what computers will traditionally do is save copies of images from websites that you frequent often. Now, the reason for this, theoretically, is that whenever you visit sites that you go to often, that the images will load faster because you have a temporary version of it saved on your computer. Now, this isn't really necessary anymore. We don't do dial-up connections. We have DSL and cable internet connections, so we no longer need to cache temporary images from the internet. So that's an area where you could free up a lot of space, especially if you're online quite a bit. Compressing old files, cleaning out your recycle bin, which a lot of folks forget to do, and you'll find a lot of space there. So if you hit OK, it'll go through that process. It'll clean up all of that as a result. Now, the next thing that you can do is something called a disk defragmentation. Basically the same process as disk cleanup. Go to My Computer again, double click on it. You want to go to the C drive, right click, scroll down to Properties, except this time what you're looking for is along this top you're going to see these tabs. You want to click where it says Tools, and you'll see another section that says Defragment Now. Now, if you click on that, it's going to bring up this box. Now, what essentially happens, and you can actually analyze your drive to determine whether or not it needs to be defragged. Your computer will let you know, so I'll let it run that process. But basically, what a fragmented drive and a defragmented drive, in very simple terms, is a defragmented drive is a very clean line of information that runs along your computer, and whenever you ask your computer to do different tasks, it does it a lot quicker because it doesn't have a lot of gaps caused by fragmentation on your disk drive. Now, a fragmented drive, like you see here, basically over time, as you're downloading programs, you're playing games, you're online, over time your C drive will get fragmented, and so therefore whenever you ask your computer to go from point A to point B, let's say going from one program to the next program, it has to jump all of these gaps of information that have been created between all of your files. So basically, whenever your computer is asked to do something, it'll essentially run through the entire disk drive to go from one program to the next program or whatever task it is that you ask it to do. So a defragmented drive is this nice solid line of information in the most simplest terms that I can explain it, which obviously will speed up your computer as a result because you have less gaps of information that you're asking your computer to jump over like you would have if you had a fragmented drive. Now, if you, like for instance here, it says you do not need to defragment this drive because I do it relatively often, but you can see here everything is kind of compressed very nicely. It's a nice solid line. There are a few little gaps here and there, but this is nothing that'll slow down the computer considerably. You'll find folks that have large gaps like this between all of their files, and as a result, their system will slow down because of that. So that's one thing that you can do. Now, if you don't defrag very often, chances are it's going to take a long time for it to do it. So if you haven't defragged in 6 months or a year or a couple of years or since you got the computer in the first place, then when you hit defragment, a lot of folks will do it before they go to bed so that it goes through the process. So by the time they wake up in the morning, that process is complete. Now, I generally do mine every 30 days, maybe every couple of months, and so it'll take maybe 15, 20 minutes maximum to defragment the drive, simply because I do it more often. Now, another thing that you can do that'll speed up is basically, excuse me, dealing with the programs that start up whenever you turn on your computer. So if you go down to the Start menu and you go to Run, if you're on Windows XP, if you're on Windows 7, there'll be a little dialog box when you click on the Windows icon and you can type this in. But go to Run and you're going to type in msconfig, which I have highlighted here, which basically is Microsoft configuration. Type in msconfig, hit OK. And what's going to happen is you're going to have this system configuration utility pop up. Along this top, you're going to see these different tabs. What you want to focus on is where it says Startup. Now, basically what this is these are all of the programs that start up whenever you turn on your computer that use up a lot of RAM memory, which is random access memory. Now, this is virtual memory that is used to basically do all of the processes that you want your computer to do, whether it's jumping online, working on iTunes, jumping on Twitter and Facebook. If you're playing video games on your system, virtual memory is very important to the speed of your computer whenever you're asking it to do different tasks, especially if you do a lot of multitasking on your computer. Now, older computers will have, maybe 1 or 2 gigabytes worth of RAM. Newer computers will have 4 gigabytes of RAM or more. This is also something that you can expand and upgrade yourself. But essentially, you don't need a lot of these programs starting whenever you turn on your computer. So a lot of times it'll be iTunes, it'll be Adobe Reader, it'll be QuickTime, it'll be your AOL Messenger or whatever it is that you use. These are programs that are starting up, they're running in the background, but as a result, they're taking up that precious RAM memory. So if you have all these different programs running, 10, 20%, 30%, 40% of your RAM memory could be taken up just running these processes in the background that you're not even accessing. So if you don't use iTunes all the time, if you don't use Adobe Reader all the time, QuickTime is famous for this. Whenever there's an update to iTunes, it just sticks it in your startup menu all of the time. So what I'll do is I'll run an msconfig and I'll turn a lot of these programs off. As you can see, these are all programs that I wanted to start on my computer, but because they're not checked anymore, they don't run at my startup. The ones that have a check mark are ones that do start whenever I turn on my computer. Now, you don't want to turn off your antivirus software. You don't want to turn off any Microsoft or Windows-based programs, but there are a lot of things that you can turn off. For instance, here I have I originally had like iTunes Helper, which I had turned off just recently. But if you have like a QuickTime, if you have your AIM Messenger, if you have Adobe, you can just simply turn it off. And when you do that, just simply hit OK. And what ends up happening is it'll say, okay, you've made some changes. So the next time you restart your computer, all of those programs that you unclicked will no longer start up in the background on your computer as a result of that. So these are just some very basic things that you can do in order to free up some space on your computer, in order to speed up the processes on your computer. The first one is a disk cleanup, which will clean up a lot of files that have accumulated and caused clutter on your system. The defragmentation just basically brings all those files together in a nice compressed fashion to ensure that your processor can run quicker and more smooth as a result. And then the last thing is doing an msconfig, which turns off a lot of programs that automatically start whenever you turn on your computer. They're completely unnecessary. If you don't need iTunes to start every single time you turn on your computer, you can manually turn it on and it won't automatically add it to your startup menu. It's whenever there's an update it does that, so I have to continually go in there and turn off, having iTunes running in the background. But you can manually turn on these programs whenever you need them. You don't need them running in the background. So anyway, hopefully a lot of this stuff is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, you can email me at dana@stimulatedboredom.com. In the future, I'll be doing some other videos in terms of upgrading your RAM, changing out your power supply, your graphics card, maybe adding cooling to your system, things like that, how to update your drivers, which is very important on your system. But for this video, just some basic maintenance that you can do that'll free up a lot of space, that'll help to maintain your computer at its optimal level, especially if you haven't done any of this since you've bought your computer or it's been years since you've done it. You'll see a definite difference in the performance of your computer. Anyway, for more information on the program, you can go to stimulatedboredom.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you'd like me to do, just give me a buzz at dana@stimulatedboredom.com. Thanks for tuning in.